Hey everybody, and welcome to another Board Game Breakfast. My name is Tom Vassell, this is the Dice Tower, and we're here to talk about board games. Now tonight I'll be doing a live Q&A. I usually do these during the days on Mondays, but I'm going to be doing it much later tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, for some of you in the world, that's morning time. So keep that in mind. Also, don't forget, if you haven't signed up for the Dice Tower Con, get there. The tickets are going quickly. So that's dicetowercon.com, and Dice Tower Cruise. Tickets for that go live today. Go to dicetowercruise.com for more information on that, how you can come to the best convention, well, tied with Dice Tower Con for the best conventions of the year. Okay, so the big news this week is we're doing a live 30-hour marathon. Now, we've done one of these before this year, back in January, and so it's time for the second one in February. But it worked really well, and there's not a lot of conventions going on, so we figured this was the best week to run it. So it's going to be going on this Thursday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and going all the way up to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday. That's 36 hours, but we take 2 3-hour breaks for kind of just a way to give everyone downtime. We have a lot of people coming. Most of the people coming from last time, but my daughter Melody will be coming. There's other folks coming. You'll see when they show up on video. We have some of the same games we played last time, but mostly different ones. So hopefully it will be a fun time that you can see different types of games being played. We'll have people coming in and out. Everyone has a chance to sleep. Hopefully it will go as well as last time. We'd love to see you guys there. We'd love to just talk and communicate with you guys as we do that. So that, just block off your Thursday and Friday now. No, don't do that. But we will see what we can do about making the stream a little bit better this time than last time, but we're just going to have to wait and see as time goes by. All right, let's get to the news. Fantasy Flight has announced an expansion for Game of Thrones Iron Throne, which was a Game of Thrones version of Cosmic Encounter-ish, mostly. And this one is The Wars to Come. This adds the last 2 houses, Greyjoy and House Martell, and also adds a bunch of allies, the people who aren't necessarily in a house, but might help different houses, like Jon Snow, etc., etc. I'm actually a little surprised on this one. I liked the game. I did not like it as much as Cosmic Encounter, and I just did not expect it to do well enough to warrant an expansion, but maybe just the fact that it is Game of Thrones certainly does that. So we'll have to wait and see. Sentinels of the Multiverse, that is a cooperative superhero game, one I like a lot. It's its own universe, even though that universe was never really that defined other than that game. There was a board game, a few comic books, but now it's going to be turned into an RPG in the Mutants and Masterminds universe. So that's kind of intriguing to see that universe expand. The Thimble, alas, poor Thimble from Monopoly, has been voted out. Okay, I'm cool with that. They kept the top hat, they kept the race car, they kept the ship. Those were the 3 that everyone wanted to use, or the cannon. You know, there's only so many that people want to use. Apparently, they're voting on some new pieces, or that voting has already occurred. We will see which ones show up in the game. Maybe the cowboy hat? WizKids has announced a new board game, The Banishing. The Banishing is a game in which you are, well, basically a bunch of different fantasy people essentially trying to banish undead that are showing up. So there's a deck of cards, and these creatures keep popping up and other cards, and you are using cards in combinations to activate your special powers. I've had a chance to play a pre-production version of The Banishing, and I think a lot of people are going to like this cooperative card game. WizKids has also announced The Expanse, the board game. This is based on the very popular TV show, The Expanse, science fiction sprawling TV show. And this one is designed by Jeff Engelstein, who is associated with the Dice Tower, does a segment on one of our audio podcasts, but it's very intriguing. I'm curious to see how this game will play out, because obviously it's a licensed game, but licensed games have been getting better and better. The Creativity Hub, this is a company probably best known for owning Rory's Story Cubes, have announced some new acquisitions personnel-wise. That's Patrick Nichol from Crash Games. You'll note that in a few weeks past, we talked about how Crash Games was kind of falling, was basically disappearing. Patrick is now moving on to the Creativity Hub, as well as Michael Fox, who used to run the Little Metal Dog Podcast, which was part of the Dice Tower Network, and has in the past several years worked for Game Sleuth. So both of them are going over. So we're going to see what the Creativity Hub does now. Looks like they're trying to make some kind of expanding into board games. What are they doing exactly? I don't know, but we should know within the next couple months. Werewords has been announced by Bezier Games. It's a werewolf game, which surprises everyone. This is a game in which one person knows a word, other people are trying to guess it, but one person is a traitor and trying to mess the guesses up. It's very, 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 very similar to Insider, which is a game that we talked about. In fact, we played on the last live marathon. I think it's inspired by Insider, but anyway, it's very close, except they slapped the werewolf theme on it. Not so sure on the artwork here, but I really liked Insider, so I'm looking forward to this game. Asmodee's announced a game called Oh Captain. This is a bluffing style game, although the artwork and everything makes it look like a yellow game. I don't know why, but anyway, it's from Asmodee. And then big news from CGE, Codenames, they basically did a licensing agreement with USAopoly to get Disney Codenames and Marvel Codenames. Now, I know some people out there are going, the sky is falling, which confuses me because I'm not sure that you are forced to buy everything Codenames. And I'm pretty sure if they can do a Codenames After Dark, we can have a Codenames Marvel and a Codenames Disney. But I'm really glad about this because getting a game, a party game that I really like out there where the quote-unquote masses will buy it, I think is an excellent, wonderful thing. Not to mention, I like Marvel and Disney, so I think Codenames versions of those would be fun. All right, it's time for Suzanne with the Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody. It is a busy time in crowdfunding games right now, but best of all this week, there are Dogs. Dogs is a game previously published in Brazil 3 times, but it's been nearly impossible to get beyond that. Greymass is kickstarting the first English edition of this charming game, making it more accessible to those beyond Brazil. In Dogs, you own an animal rescue center and are trying to rescue and heal lost dogs. You'll travel around this city board using your stash of gasoline to find dogs to help. Back at your center, you'll place dogs into your kennel following specific placement rules, and you'll give medical treatment to pups that need it. Dogs has a strong action selection mechanism as you vie for cards that provide food, medicine, and kennel expansions, and, of course, you'll have to feed your dogs and pay your employees. I do not know the longer-term plans for Dogs availability, so if you want to grab a copy of this game while you can, it takes a pledge of $29 plus shipping. The final chapter in the Exodus saga from NSKN Games, Event Horizon, is a modular expansion for Exodus Proxima Centauri. Each of the 7 included modules has separate rules and game elements that can be mixed and matched to create totally new Exodus game experiences. If you're not familiar with Exodus Proxima Centauri, you can get a copy of the base game with this Kickstarter too. This is a large-scale space domination game in which you'll gather limited resources, vote and bid on actions, develop technologies, build and enhance ships, and attack your neighbors. Tom calls it his go-to space epic in a box that's 3 hours or less. Exodus Event Horizon adds a ton of new options to the game and has unlocked a bunch of stretch goals already. You can get a copy of the expansion for $45 or get the base game and Event Horizon for $95. In By Order of the Queen, the King of Tessendor is missing, and with him gone, the kingdom's enemies are emboldened. The Queen is rallying the regions to restore peace in the King's absence. In this cooperative game, players control a guild of Tessendor, and you'll work together to defend the land against monsters, complete quests, and fulfill the Queen's plan to bring peace to the land. As a cooperative game, there are a lot of things working against you, and you'll lose the game if you lose too many villagers, the people's confidence, or too many heroes. But working together to allocate dice and face enemies will bring victory. A standout element of By Order of the Queen is, without a doubt, the amazing art by the incredibly talented Justin Hillgrove. You can get a copy of this story-driven adventure game for $49 plus shipping. Macroscope is a party game that uses a clever cardboard device, the Macroscope. Players try to determine what the secret image is by peeking at only bits of it through the windows opened on the Macroscope. The fewer windows you open, the more points you'll get, but your penalty will be greater too if you get it wrong. Macroscope includes 400 images to decipher, which should offer a ton of gameplay, and you can get a copy of Macroscope for a pledge of $25 plus shipping. The Shared Dream is a cooperative board game based on the tabletop RPG of Dreams and Magic. In this game, players take on the role of people called anima who channel the dreams into magic. Each of the available 6 anima have unique abilities, and there are 4 shared dream scenarios, each with its own victory condition and nemesis. Your personal reflection deck helps build the story that can help you solve the dream or bring you into trouble. Elements like taint grow, strengthen, and spawn enemies, and you can channel a super strong ability, but using this causes nightmares, which can lead to even more and stronger enemies. The Shared Dream has a lot of strong narrative elements to it, and it comes with 12 minis for the enemies and 6 character minis, and there's also an available expansion you can add on. You can get a copy of the base game for $65. And last but not least, Can't Stop Express is a release of Extra or Solitaire dice, which was designed by the legendary Sid Saxon. Eagle Games is bringing us this inexpensive dice game that falls into one of my favorite categories of games, the roll and write. Basically, players mark off numbers from a dice roll. Harder to get numbers like 2 and 12 will get you big points, while easier rolls like a 7 will net you fewer points. But similar to Lost Cities, if you don't get at least 5 of a given number that you've started, you'll get negative points. Easy and accessible, Can't Stop Express has a nice odds calculation and luck pushing element to it that you can add to your collection for an affordable $7 plus shipping. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, play all the games.
She did it! The 27-year-old Cassandra de Picol made it. She is the fastest person to have ever traveled to each country in the world. At 25, she was already an experienced traveler, but then she bought a map of the world, stared at it, and started connecting each country to each other. She left her home 19 months ago and just got back. She started her Expedition 196 to get into the Guinness Book of Records. Well, she made that, but she also wanted to promote peace through sustainable tourism. If you want to learn more, then check out expedition196.com. This week I am playing a game that's all about traveling, where we are in the mystical world of the elves and try to visit every city on the map. This week I am playing Elfenland. In Elfenland, each player takes on the role of an elf, and you try to visit every city on the board to make sure that you're maturing as an elf. Every round is played in 2 parts. In the first part, every player one by one puts transportation counters on the roads between the different cities. And that means that any player can use this means of transportation if they are able to pay for it, and that comes in part 2. In part 2, players physically move their elfen boot from one city to the next and pay with elfen cards, the means of transportation that is already on the board. At the end of the game, you count how many cities you have visited, and as a tiebreaker, you'll try to see how many steps you are away from your hometown. So ending in your hometown, visiting every city on the map will certainly give you victory. I have played Elfenland way back when I was in college. It's really a fun game if everyone knows how the system works, that you need to plan ahead, putting the transportation counters on the map after you have seen what you can pay for with your travel cards. It was Spiel des Jahres in 1998, so it's quite an old game, but it really is fun. Maybe you can find it and check it out. That's Elfenland. My name is Dave Luza. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
So obviously much of what is going on this week on the Dice Tower is going to be our live marathon. That's going to take up all Thursday and Friday. But we're still going to have videos coming up. Well, there's a couple today, but tomorrow and Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday. So you're going to see some different reviews from us. You're going to see our top 10 party games that's coming out this week. This is a redone top 10 list. We did this one, I think, 4 years ago. So we're starting to redo a few older top 10s, kind of updating them to see what's changed in them and not. We're also going to be doing a pile of reviews. I'm going to be taking a look at the cooperative expansion for Vikings Gone Wild, Yokohama. I'm going to be reviewing that one. Me and Melody played that live on Saturday. If you want to go back and watch how that's played. Walk on Fire, Barnyard Roundup, Masks, the Outlander dice game, Lady Richmond, Mighty Monsters. So several reviews are coming from me and from Z and from Sam. I also am doing my top 5 ghost games. Couldn't get 10 for ghosts. So I'm going through different categories and giving my favorite games in those different categories. So all that's coming this week. And of course, we have another podcast being released on Tuesday. Remember, if you want to listen to just audio versions of this show and other shows, go to dicetoweraudio.com. And lots of other podcasts have joined our network and put out podcasts each and every week. You can go check those out at dicetowernetwork.com.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here. And you know what? Before I go any further, I want to first apologize for last week's embarrassing interruption by another Chaz Marler from an alternate reality. Now, the management has assured me that they are taking steps to repair our timeline to prevent similar disruptions from happening again in the future. And that's good, because if it's one thing that I cherish, it's the unfractured nature of the Pair of Dice Paradise timeline. See, there are plenty of other universes out there that have damaged their timelines beyond repair. And it looks like 2017 promises to be full of board games all about them. For example, take the upcoming Terminator the board game, which is running its Kickstarter campaign as of the time of this recording. In the Terminator board game, both the past and future play out separately, side by side, by way of an intriguing mechanism which allows the actions taken by players in the past to have consequences that instantly change the game state of the future area, such as adding or removing resources in real time. This game promises to keep the future as unclear as a black highway at night. And further proving that space and time are all wibbly-wobbly is the upcoming Doctor Who Time of the Daleks game by Gale Force 9. In this game, players take on the role of their favorite Time Lord in order to thwart the Daleks' master plan of erasing the Doctor from history, which sounds a bit severe. I mean, I'd hate for someone that I know to be completely erased from history, like my co-host of the last 3 years, Leonard. Who was I talking about? And finally, there's Stonemaier Games' foray into the legacy game genre, Charterstone, which promises to let us create our own parallel universes to conquer.
But for a game with infinite possibilities, it starts simple.
Rumor has it that there ain't even a rule book in this box. Instead, players will learn as they play, following the instructions in 75 different crates that are opened over the course of several games. And the contents, each one of these little crates will create a unique village that follows a branching alternate storyline governed by the decisions made by those players. And as a result, after a dozen or so games, players will have their own unique worker placement style game. It's a different parallel universe in every box. But even with all of those examples coming out this year, fortunately, multiple parallel universes aren't something that we have to worry about around here. Right, Leonard? Well, Leonard? Leonard.
Hello everyone, it's lunchtime! Today we're going to talk to you about Black Spy. It's a trick-taking game by Ticket to Ride's Alan R. Moon, published by Z-Man Games. It plays 3 to 6 players ages 14 and up in about 45 minutes.
So it's an interesting twist on the traditional trick-taking games. This one is particularly like Hearts. So like in Hearts, you're trying to have the least amount of points. There are different suits of spies, and you're trying to get rid of mostly the black ones, because they're actually the ones that give you positive points. Especially the 7s, they give you positive 10 each, so those ones really hurt you. The nice thing is the spies, the 7s in the other colors are actually negative points, so they actually take your point score down and actually can get you into the negatives, which is good. You're trying basically to get rid of all your cards, or, like in Hearts, if you take all of them, everyone else suffers the penalty.
Yeah, I got tricked on that one time. It's named trick taking. So we have a good time playing this game. I really liked it. I mean, the art is very simple, right? It's nothing crazy, but the actual playing of the game gets really competitive. So at first I thought I was doing really well, and by the end of the game, what is it like? I'm like minus 50 points or something. I'm like, is that good? No, it's not. Definitely won't say on the positive side.
I played a lot of Hearts in high school, and so this was really fun for me. The twist in this one is that not only do you have to match the suit, you can also choose to match the value of the card. So if someone plays a 6, you can play a 6 in another color, and that's totally fine. So you can match either the suit or the rank of the card. So there's an extra dimension of play there in what you can play.
And I made my grandfather proud when I played this game because, Grandpa, I kick butt.
She's pretty good. I think this will also be good to play with coworkers because they'll be familiar. I mean, it's something that's familiar. I mean, slightly repackaged, slightly, bits of different rules. But overall, it's in essence something familiar like Hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if you have a slightly longer lunch hour that's about 45 minutes, give this one a try. Mm-hmm. So that's it for us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
For me, basically the hobby of board gaming is both an expensive one and a cheap one, right? When there's economic downturn, board gaming always seems to grow. Why is that? Because really board gaming isn't that expensive of a hobby. If you buy a board game or two and play it many, many times with a large group of people, that's pretty good bang for buck. Now, board gaming can also be an extremely expensive hobby because some people just buy hundreds and hundreds of games, go out their way and buy all sorts of promos, support podcasts and videocasts. It can be a pricey thing. You can go to conventions. Yeah, conventions is an expensive proposition. And today I want to talk a little bit about the VIG, the very important gamers. This was brought to mind because recently Board Game Geek offered a premium ticket to Board Game Geek. And so what they did is they did a Dutch auction. And I find Dutch auctions incredibly fascinating. But they had 150 extra tickets. Okay, these tickets guarantee you a spot at the convention. They're sold before the rest of the tickets for the Board Game Geek convention. You are guaranteed a room. You still have to pay for the room, but you're guaranteed to get one. You can pay for someone else's badge. You don't get it, but you got to pay for that other person's badge. So really, this didn't offer anything other than peace of mind and a free t-shirt. And so they started these tickets at $1,000, and then each day they lower them by $50. There's 150 of them. At the time of me recording this, I believe there's just over 100 left, and the price is at $500 or $450. I'm not sure. So the price is going down, and more of them are selling as it gets lower until they hit the rock bottom price of $300. Now, rock bottom is kind of somewhat of a term there because $300 just covers you getting into the convention. You are going to get to play games for 5 days for $300. That does not include the cost of the hotel and or the cost of transportation to get there and or the cost of food while you are there. Now, I am not trying to criticize this program at all. It's not something that I would do at all. But it made me think about this. These people have premiums. They have the people who buy these obviously have more disposable income than other people do. And this is something that they can spend their money on. It helps support the convention/website, and it gives them peace of mind of getting tickets in. Gen Con has a very similar policy where they have VIG gamers, where you pay a certain amount. I want to say it's somewhere between $600 or $700. And you get into the convention early, you get a pile of games, you have a special lounge that only you can go to. Geek Chic tried to run a program like this last year or 2 years ago, where they had an enhanced experience when you went to conventions. You get shoe shines and catered meals, etc., etc. Now that experiment bombed big time, but it does not always bomb. The VIG program for Gen Con goes like crazy. It is sold out within minutes. Very few people, you have you're grandfathered in. If you have a ticket, you can buy the next ticket. Very few people give their tickets up. Every person I've ever talked to who has it says that it is amazing. However, the people who don't think it's amazing are the people who can't afford it. And that's where I wonder, okay? I wonder about this. I'm always very cautious to put board gamers into classes, right? At Gen Con, we have the VIG gamers and we have everyone else. BGG now has these premium tickets and everyone else. Now, these premium tickets don't mean so much once you get to the convention, right? There's no special lounge for premium tickets. There's no like special bonuses. Again, it's basically you're buying peace of mind. But these people get to buy their tickets first because they have more money. Now, there's always going to rage a big debate on this, right? The people who are pure capitalists say this is a great thing. Let money determine the market. Other people are going to argue against this and say just because some people have a ton of disposable income, they get to do things and go first. Now, I don't think there's any way around that. That's the way the world works. If people have more money, they can do what they want. Look at celebrities who are able to get into like parks and get guided tours of amusement parks and things that most people can't do just because of the sheer power of money. But is this always a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I'm not really sure on this. See, at the Dice Tower Con, we don't necessarily have VIG gamers, but we do things on Dice Tower. Like, for example, we have meals with the Dice Tower guys, and you pay a good chunk of money to come eat with us, and that supports the Dice Tower. That's why we do it. But you could make an argument that the people who do that are kind of a step above someone who doesn't pay that, and they just meet me, and they, can we have dinner? And I'm like, well, I already have dinner scheduled with these folks. And I wonder about that. It kind of like bleeds into politics in a sense where, many politicians have big donors, and when that big donor calls you on the phone, you tend to pick it up. So this is less of a Tom Thinks this time, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think about this subject. It's probably not that a big idea of a deal, because for many people, the very fact that you can go to a convention puts you in a different class than those who can't. Going to a convention is a very expensive thing, unless you happen to live in the same town, because the travel to get there, the stay overnight, that stuff way is more expensive than the actual cost to get in the convention itself. For example, Dice Tower Con, a little over $100 to get in. That price is much cheaper than the actual staying at hotels overnight and the fly down to Orlando, right? So someone who goes to a convention already is more financially better off than someone who cannot go. So is that a different class there? What do you guys think about this? Do you think conventions should offer a premium experience that people can go to that is because you can look at that and say, well, this is good because the convention is getting more money. Now, sometimes in the case of, for example, Gen Con, that more money does not ever seem to come back and benefit the gaming community at all. Gen Con, well, don't get me started. But in the case of Board Game Geek, though, you can say, well, it goes and helps the website, and this website is, only run by a few people, and so that money gets funneled into that. So can you justify it? Is it worth it? What do you think? I'm kind of neutral on the subject itself. Like I said, I don't know that I'd want to set up different tiers of things, but maybe I do already. Maybe the fact that sometimes we say, hey, we're going to a convention, and you're not. Is that already kind of set a class distinction? One of the reasons we do record at conventions and things for our live shows and audio shows is so that people who don't make it can be there, can enjoy the experience. But are we still kind of separating people into different groups? Are there in-jokes like, hey, remember that time at Origins when we saw that? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Very important gamers. Is this a problem, or is it not even worth talking about?
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Miniatures World. Today we're going to be taking a look at I just got it in the mail on Thursday and I decided to paint it up. So if you had a chance, you can check out on my channel, Arcadia Quest. I think it's part of the Inferno Kickstarter package. But I had gotten one of the dragons, which is the Frost Dragon, and he is magnificent. As you can see up here, as we spin around and take a look at him, and he's all painted up. What a tremendous model. I'm telling you, if you guys are part of this or get a chance to get the retail version of Arcadia Quest, I can tell you, Inferno, that these models are as good as the first edition. If not, I feel that they're a little bit better. Cool Mini or Not has been putting out some excellent products, as you know. But, some of the issues have been some of the plastic. Not this time, not here. This Arcadia Quest Inferno is absolutely gorgeous. And this Frost Dragon, as you can see, is just one of the most gorgeous models that you can see. And here's a couple of Hell Dogs that I'm going to show you. And a couple other figures from the Arcadia Quest Inferno. I suggest that when it comes retail, which should be very soon, around March, I believe, make sure you grab yourself a copy of this fantastic game. I give these models a 10 out of 10. They are dead on and wonderful, especially if you like chibis. Well, until next time, I'm Rob Orn. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to What's on the Shelf. Now, here we're taking a look at these two shelves, and now you're going to see one of the things that happens in the Dice Tower collection as games come in and out. Sometimes they get moved. So you've already seen Dragon and Flagon on another shelf. Now it's been moved here. There's actually a space here next to Dragon and Flagon because a couple games have been moved around and done different things. And so this spot will probably be taken by another big box game at some point. But here I have my Ticket to Rides. Now, my Ticket to Rides collection is unlike many others. I have the big mega Ticket to Ride, the 10th anniversary edition, and that's like my basic Ticket to Ride. This is everything else mixed together. So one of these boxes has all the maps in it, one of them has all the cards in it, and one has the different trains that you'll need for the game. So if I'm going to play Ticket to Ride, I need to get out all three of these boxes, and you might say, wow, that seems like a pain, but the fact is, I wanted there to be only 3 boxes as opposed to 200, not 200, but like 7 or 8 boxes. Over here, 10-day series I think is great. I think it's an amazing series, but I had to make cuts in my collection, so I was only able to keep one. My favorite is 10 Days in Africa. That's the one I kept. Underneath that I have Soup, which is the English version is called Primordial Soup from Z-Man Games. Same thing. It is a game. I don't know how long I'll have this one. However, I would have to get a game that took its place box size. But it's a really fun game in which you are basically, you have different amoebas that are moving around and eating different food, and you have to grow and evolve them. Pretty cool. Then Cyclades, this is the Titans expansion, but it's Cyclades. Cyclades and Kemet. Amazing, 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 amazing. These will both be in my collection for a really long time. Both of them have expansions announced for them. I'm pretty pumped about that. Can't wait to see them. Defenders of the Realm. Now, this is one that may not be here much longer because I have Defenders of the Last Stand, and I like them both, and I'm not sure I need duplicates of them, but Defenders of the Realm still is a fantastic cooperative game in which you are defending the realm. Different fantasy characters going around fighting off orcs and undead and all sorts of cool things. I really love the story it tells. It's a really, really fun game. So that, this week, folks, is What's on the Shelf.
Hey, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. I love doing makeovers to board games, especially if I find something that makes sense. I'm not saying it always makes sense, but I love it when it does. Well, besides changing out artwork, theme, and components, my goal in doing makeovers of board games is really giving the board game experience a board game makeover. And what I mean by that is hosting a game night and letting people come to my house and play games because the experience is awesome and I want them to experience that. One of the areas of board games I also like to improve is the storage inside. How do you store your components inside a board game? I'm going to show you what I do, what I found that really seems to work for me, and let me show you what I mean. This game, called Beta Bots from B&B Games and Zagar Games, I like this game. The game's a lot of fun, but I don't like the fact that you have loose components. The insert is actually really good, considering that I've seen many worse ones. It's very thick, but the components just laying around in there, what's going to happen? Let's see what happens. Goes on its side, gets shuffled around. I mean, even a little bit like that. Okay, it's not bad, but as you can see, components are all everywhere now. Let me show you what I did to improve the way these components are stored in BetaBots. Now this is BetaBots using custom storage solutions, and for example, the plain old box. I love this box. It's small, it fits into most small, even the smaller board game boxes. But one thing I really like about it is the fact that you can get your fingers in there to get things. I found these baggies at a Dollar Tree store. Sure Fresh portion pack snack bags. Make sure you look for portion pack, and here's what you get. You get 40, and these are thick, of these bags. They are awesome for games, so you don't have the bigger sandwich-sized bags in there. But like I mentioned in the intro to this video, there are some games where the component just doesn't make sense to change out. This game is called Sheer Panic. And when you look at the components in here, the components are really, really stunning. But the way these are stored, As you can tell, the insert slants these, and it's not like they're going to come out with an expansion to this anytime soon. So this all makes sense. Things are already bagged up. There's already 2 places for dice, and there's not much more I can really do to improve the way this game is stored. And that's sheer panic. A game I can't improve on the way the components are stored inside the box. How you store your components can make a big difference in the playability of the game, how quickly you can set games up or tear them down when you're done. Even the insert, for example, beta bots, that insert's fine, but I found a better solution. But in sheer panic, this insert makes sense. What's your preference in the way you store your components in your board games? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear, and maybe I'll discover something new. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. I'll see you next time.
Hello and welcome. My name is Niels from Untitled Chapter, and today in the best and the worst, we are taking a look at Islebound from Red Raven Games. Join me! My favorite part on Islebound is Farwald. When you land in Farwald, you can brag, and that is thematically so cool. I really like that. So you're going into this pub and saying, whoa, I'm the biggest pirate. I own 5 towns. So you get a victory point and 2 per every town you can control. Another pirate says, I have at least 3, that gives you 6 points. Cool. For each book, hey, I'm a really intelligent pirate. I know how to read. I own 3 books. Bam, victory point. That is so cool, this going into a pub and bragging about the things you did in the past. Thematically cool, great, brilliant. The part I don't like too much on Islebound is after roughly 45 minutes, an hour, it feels like, oh, I'm going from here to here. I'm going from here to here. I'm going from here to here. It feels a little bit like a mouse in a cage. You're running and running and running and doing some stuff, but you don't see too much progress on it. So it feels a little bit too long for what it is. It should be a little bit shorter, and then it's a really great game. But after at least 70-80 minutes, it feels a little bit like chewing gum. Oh, another round. And usually only 1 or 2 players can end the game extremely fast or extend the game. So the timing of the ending of the game is not my favorite part in Islebound. Thanks so much for watching. Always the best and the worst here on the Dice Tower Network. My name is Niels Sulzbrettspiel, and we watched Islebound from Red Raven Games. See you next week. Bye bye.
Hi, welcome to Play Like a Girl. I'm Christina.
I'm Melissa.
And we're from Girls Game Shelf. And we are super excited to tell you, to tell you about TAC. So, you go ahead and talk about the King Killer series.
Okay, yeah. So, TAC is a game that came out of the King Killer series by Patrick Rothfuss, Name of the Wind, and A Wise Man's Fear, plus 1 more that has not yet been released. From my understanding, he didn't have the rules in his head when he wrote it. He just knew that it was a beautiful game. And with the help of a game designer, we have now gotten a real version of TAC. The game designer and Kickstarter has helped bring this to life, and oh my gosh.
So addicting! It's so good!
Great.
So, the cool thing about this game, it's been described to me as a combination of Othello and chess, which is so accurate, because the goal is to get from one side of the board to the other, not necessarily in a straight line. And your pieces can do different things. It can act as a pathway or stone or what have you, or a wall. And then you get little capstones that can crush walls and also be a path for you but not for your enemy. So that's kind of the gist of how you play, and it is super addicting.
Yeah, I'm willing to say it's like a modern classic. Like, it's going to last for a long time.
And I feel like I'm in the tavern when I'm playing it. So if you're a fan of the King Killer series, like, you have to get this game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. If you're a fan of the series, you need it. Yes.
The one thing about it, though, is that, so if you were on it and you joined the Kickstarter, then you're one of the very few people that has this game right now. They're due to have them in stores in February, but I think they might actually be, all ordered up right now.
I don't know. I just pre-ordered a copy, and
cross our fingers for ours.
Who knows when it's gonna come?
Yeah. This is borrowed from Steve. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for backing the Kickstarter. We didn't know about it. So, anyways, check out TAC. check out your local game stores and see when they're going to have it in and enjoy. Highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. For full episodes and more videos about games that you think you might want to play, check out girlsgameshelf.com. Bye!
Every once in a while, without really even knowing why, you see a box and all you can think is, shut up and take my money. But what do these shut up and take my money games have in common? What is it about them that makes them stand out from the crowd and scream, oi, idiot, buy me? Strike's one of those games. The first time I saw Strike was from a Twitter post from Rodney Smith from Watch It Played. And as I indeed watched him play, throwing dice into a little plastic coliseum, I just knew I had to buy it. I'm a sucker. And then there was King Domino, with its lovely colourful tiles and stupid but terribly brilliant and fantastically awful but really quite terribly fantastic name. I do like puns. And the first chance I got to buy it, I did, like some kind of chimp at a...
Yeah, probably lay off the chimp joke. It's getting weird.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Sorry. And then lastly there's the Alhambra big box, which made me take momentary leave of my senses at a convention because it was on sale. And I got lucky with all these games because I really like all of them. But I don't know what links them together, other than they all made me part with my money. Like,
knock it off.
Like my ex-wife 20 years ago. So what games made you shut your mouth and part with your money? And why? What made them stand out from the crowd? Let me know.
A common question that we see on online forums and at our email address, asksnakes@snakesandlattes.com, is how do you teach game X, or just how do you teach games in general? And since at Snakes and Lattes, teaching games is what we do, take a seat, class, because school is in session. Contrary to what school administrators and standardized tests may have to say, there is no one right way to teach. That's just as true for English class as it is for teaching games. Every game guru is going to have a different style, and every player will have a different preferred method of learning. A good place to start is with the general premise of the game. Now, if the game's theme and mechanics have meshed well together, then talking about what the game is about is going to naturally segue into the victory condition. If you're playing Fury of Dracula, it is a cat and mouse game across Europe with Dracula trying to fill the continent with vampires and the vampire hunters trying to find and defeat Dracula. It's right there in the description how you win. Kill Dracula. Sometimes though, the mechanics and the theme don't really mesh together, and so just give a quick précis of the mechanics. In Dominion, for example, every player starts with a crappy deck of cards. If your deck was a car, it would be a lemon. And your job is to turn it into a Ferrari. You do that by getting rid of the bad cards and getting lots of good cards into your deck. At the end of the game, the player who has the most victory point cards is going to be the winner. With purely abstract games like Pentago, Kulami, or Blockus, skip the premise entirely and go straight to the victory conditions of the game. Get 5 in a row, earn more points by controlling more tiles, or get more of your pieces on the board. It's that simple. Now, depending on the group's needs or the complexity of the game, some people are going to pick up these details very quickly, while others are going to need more hand-holding and explicit detail. But once everyone understands what they're trying to accomplish and how they go about it on their turn, it's time to hit them with any of the oddball or exception-based rules. These are things that don't happen very often, or they're common, but they stand apart from the normal flow of gameplay. What happens when an epidemic card gets drawn in Pandemic? Or what happens when you roll the robber in Settlers of Catan? Now next time, in part 2 of the Teaching, we'll talk about when it's a good idea to deviate from this general structure, and we'll give you some tips that you can apply to teaching any game in your collection. Until next time, game on!
And that's it. Another Board Game Breakfast is over. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We always appreciate you. Check out, of course, all the other shows. Don't forget, each week there's either a Board Game Blender or a Throat Punch Lunch. Those shows are pretty much the same as Board Game Breakfast, except they're hosted by people who are infinitely more likable and cooler than I am, Sam Healy and Z Garcia. So check out those shows. Again, we have a top 10. Again, I'm doing a Q&A tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll see you then. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.